Hello, everybody. Ryan Christie here. I'm here with Mariya. Welcome to Authentic Conversations, diving deeper into holistic health, mind, body, and spirit. And Mariya is my collaborator here for episode 1. I'm really happy to be here and to have Mariya here. She's a soul sister, and we're going to dive into the topic of starting with self for your holistic health and going to mind first. But I wanted to speak more, since this is episode 1, speak more a little bit about myself and why I'm here and why Mariya's here. She'll share her story as well, and then we'll get right into our topic for episode 1 and the inauguration of Authentic Conversations. So my name is Ryan Christie. I'm originally from Colorado, born and bred in Colorado, and I was always involved in sport. Like, the physical always attracted me. And so this is like part of this diving deeper into mind, body, and spirit. But for me, it was physical. And the mental was like visualization from a sports standpoint. And so my journey has really been my connection deeper into not just my body, and then how I've been sharing that as a coach. Because when I started as a coach over 20 years ago, I was more focused on physical coaching. And then I realized, okay, well, there's something missing here. And also, it being a mirror for myself, the mental side of things. And then later, I explored deeper into the more spiritual side of things as well for myself. So my whole journey has been this evolution of how I'm sharing myself and how that can help other people that are maybe earlier on in their journey of holistic health, and diving deeper and really finding support from those that they resonate with the most. And I hope this YouTube series, podcast, whatever we choose to call it, whatever framework we want to put on it, like that this really has the greatest impact. Like that, for me, that's the most important, that whatever I'm doing and creating and sharing and putting out there is for the greatest good. So I'm going to segue into my collaborator, Mariya. And I originally met Mariya when I lived in Geneva for 15, 16 years. I had a gym there, Geneva Fitness. Long story short, Geneva Fitness went bankrupt after 8 years, and I did a lot of coaching in a variety of different spaces. And Holmes Place, one of the premier gyms in Geneva, was a space that I found myself later on in my career. Normally, coaches start in the gym, physical coaches specifically, and then I did a bit of the reverse. And it's there that I met Mariya in a very, to me, synchronistic way. Like it was a synchronicity. And to me, this is part of the spiritual language as well, is like Mariya and I were brought together for some wild reason. And so that's why it's special to have here. I'll let her explain a little bit more about her side of that story as she introduces herself. But that's why Mariya's here for episode 1 of this authentic conversation. She's someone that I resonate with on a very deep level, a heartfelt level, like sharing openly all of me, and there's never any judgment. It's all love. Like, Mariya, thank you for being here, first and foremost. And I'm going to hand it over to you now. I've talked enough to start this. So, collaborator, friend, soul sister, let's hear more about you.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Ryan. And I think indeed, soul brother, soul sister is a wonderful description of our connection, because we're a tribe. We're part of this very beautiful energy flow connecting tribe. And yeah, the meeting was so synchronistic. And again, like one of these things where you realize you need to trust the flow of the universe. Because when I first moved to Geneva, like one of the first places I try to find for myself in a new location is a gym. Like, because the physical, like just like you, for me, like I've been working out since I was 14 and I've done everything, but like I have to have like this physical outlet. And when I was, they booked like an introduction session in the gym with a coach. And I was like, oh my God, I always dread those, because I mean, like, I honestly, like, I never hear anything new. And then, moreover, last minute, they were like, oh, they couldn't find the coach. And then you were there, and it was all like,
It's such a fun story.
and yes, and then walking, I'm like, oh my God. And you are such a bright presence, such a sunshine. And first of all, like this, it takes me seconds to read the energy of a person, and yours was immediately so, forthcoming and so mine, like my person. And another thing, on another level, you were the first coach in many years who actually showed me whole new ways to exercise and connect with my body. And I will always remember like this thing with like a coin, like a 5 franc coin, a thing here, and how you can actually work out these muscles, like by, it's like, oh, actually, I didn't know it all. So it was a very humbling experience for me in the best way possible. So thank you. And thank
Well,
you
for
for.
me, it was like this, you're wide open as well. Like when you sense that energy, you open up. And once again, not everyone's like that. Working in that environment, like a lot of that session for a coach was it was a sales pitch, right? Like I'm trying to convince the person to coach with me in personal training. But like when I met you as well, I also felt that energy, and it was just like open to receive, and I just wanted to share. And like that's, once again, it's the essence of this as well, is like for me, one of my big phrases is sharing is caring. And the more open the people are to receive, like that's the beautiful connection. Like you don't know what kind of growth can happen after that as well. And so like to have someone like you just be super receptive and like, oh yeah, let's try this or this, or how about this, based on what you were sharing as well, like really trying to tailor it to, what you were experiencing and everything. It was wonderful to receive that as a coach and a human being on the other end as well. So saying our meetup story, can you tell us more about a little bit about yourself, and then maybe finish that with you as a holistic coach, like what's led you into holistic health and coaching in a mind, body, spirit way, a more open way, a more holistic way?
Well, I would say I came to holistic health and coaching, especially not because I one day woke up and like, oh, I want to do health. It's more out of necessity to heal myself. And I started my career path as a lawyer, and I was a young, very ambitious lawyer, very like work hard, play hard kind of
Yeah.
person, very materialistic. I was very result oriented, all that, and perfectionistic. And by age 31, I had burned out. I had like smaller burnouts for that, but 31 was really like a rock bottom burnout. And I started understanding that I have to be serious about my health. And there's only so much you can get from Western medicine. As much as I respect Western medicine, I have total respect for doctors, but there are some limitations to it. And so I started digging, I put all that zest, all that. I'm also a lifelong learner. I started like really trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And moreover, since age 27, at 27, I was also diagnosed with depression, which kind of, I think I had it when I was a teenager already. But so it was all like, okay, I want to minimize my depression. I want to have normal digestive system, because like my digestive system was in a bad shape. And
Yeah.
like also anxiety and aches and pains chronically and all that. And I was like, no, I'm only like 31. Now is the time. Maybe it's a sign. I think I took that burnout as a sign, like, okay, my body is failing, my mental health could be better, so let's build it up. So that's actually how the health coaching program, it was at that time it was a 2-year program. And of course I took the intensive, which is 1 year, twice as much work because it's me. But I just did it without intention to ever coach others. I just did it for myself. I was like,
To coach yourself. Yeah.
and it was life changing, because I realized I help myself. And I actually was a pretty bad case, and that's like, if I was a health coach and someone like me came to me, I would be like, okay, that's a lot of work. But I thought, okay, if I managed to heal myself, and then I started giving some advice and some help to my friends, my family, and seeing improvements. And then I started studying other modalities in healing, like breathwork. I'm also a certified somatic breathwork practitioner. I'm a level 2 Reiki practitioner. I'm a yoga teacher, 200 hours. And all of that is actually in an effort to, first and foremost, I'm sorry to say, selfishly, just keep myself being the best I can be to show up for those I love.
This is the theme of today's episode, is starting with self, right? And this level of like what we call selfish, that everything that you did for yourself in this education is rippling out.
It's a good kind of selfishness. And you know, I find it gives, having pulled yourself up from the rock bottom, it gives you the kind of level of compassion. When a client comes to me and says, okay, I have like this or like that, I have zero judgment for pretty much anything. Like if a person is just struggling with controlling their like sugar dependency or creating workout regimes, like I know, like I was on antidepressants back then when I was diagnosed, and I gained like 2 sizes of clothing worth of weight just in the first 6 weeks or so because of the medications. So now I also think like there are so many factors. It's not all about like, oh, just, you know, just do it. No, it's all about love, compassion, approaching yourself with love and compassion, and then sending it to others. So that was my journey, and I got hooked on all this personal growth stuff, because when you realize there is no ceiling and everything higher, 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 you see, oh my God, you see more that needs healing, and it's humbling.
But I think that's the beauty of, you know, it's same different, like I'm using the language of diving deeper, and you know, you're talking, it's this expansion whichever way you go, this growth, and you're facing different challenges based on that growth, right? And the key is not to stop it because we've been hurt, or we just don't, maybe afraid on where to go, right? But we keep expanding, and then trusting that that expansion is rippling out and helping others, right?
Yes. When you
But
start,
we get talked out of it, like, and this is getting into some of the questions that we want to get into in the episode, so we can start to like segue into those and speak more on like the topics. Structure, I think, is important for like we're helping each other structure all this, because like we want to keep this conversational, but I think it's also important that we can, for those that are listening as well, like we can put all these in these spaces for people. But yeah, bigger, holistic, like there's so much about us that we're like constantly exploring. So having people that are supporting that and not judging it, because like having someone like that is a gift. For me, our journeys are very similar. Like I was helping myself, but part of my own journey was I was too focused on helping others that the time that I was focusing on myself was limited. I was focusing on the physical, and I wasn't going as deep. So I had to create this good balance and boundaries along my journey to be able to give myself what I would like, put it on myself, not just, you know, immediately put it out to everyone else and like start testing on everyone else without really authentically, like me going through it myself, growing from it, and then putting it out there. So like it's interesting, our journeys similar and different, right? Like finding the connections within this. And I think that's part of like our deeper connection anyway, is we love to expand and share, and we love a lot of the same things. So okay, today's episode, starting with self. We've been speaking about this and the importance of starting with self, and then why it's important to go to the mind first, right? And what that means for holistic health. So how would you sum that up for we've spoken about it, but like just flowing off of that, I guess, like our main theme for today, like starting with self for those listening, and then why should they go to the mind first, and how is this connecting to their holistic health?
Well, even as a coach who is dealing with like an immediate health concern, I always go deeper into the person's, not per se psychological, but like their perception challenges, like something that is stressful or triggering, which actually causes issues in the body on a physical level. So it's important, if we want to show up better as people for the world, we need to fix everything and align everything in ourselves first. Like, I think that's the recurring theme today. And we need to take care of our mind. I think that's where it starts for most people, in my experience at least. And for example, a lot of GI issues, digestive tract issues, gut issues,
Gastrointestinal, yeah.
they're super linked with stress, either acute stress or chronic stress. And it was also my case. And like, a person is eating a perfect diet, great lifestyle, terrible digestive issues. What's that? And then, of course, you can go and get some medications and kind of calm the symptoms, or you can start addressing the root cause, which is in the mind.
Yeah. And they call the gut a brain in itself, right? It has its own intelligence, but it's also it's here that is governing that. And it's almost like the split of, we do have right and left hemispheres, and like these are whole other topics as well, about like the different levels of brain and mind, and how mind and energy, and like you talk about Reiki and some of the energy things that you do as well, like to be able to be aware of how in here is affecting your energetic space, aura, however you want to talk about it, and the physical. And that's what I like about like Chinese medicine, is they look at layers. They go, okay, well, let's check here and then here and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and we found it.
And the meridians also, yes, it's a very energy approach. And the gut and mind connection, there is now scientifically also the focus on gut-brain axis. And basically, our brain and our gut, the second brain, are constantly in communication. So it's a very quick feedback loop between the two.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting connections with even there was someone talking about, saying grace before having a meal, like your attitude, your emotions, your energy, all of that, when you're eating, how it will affect your system and your digestion, no matter what you're eating as well, right? Like having good company, never eat when you're angry. Like there's a lot of these like old sayings throughout about like when you are eating your food, to be more in a better energetic state, and then it will help your the physical digestion of your body as well. So,
and we're now finding like actual scientific reasons for that, why all of what you just now mentioned is so true for like all over the world, is because we have like two states. We have a parasympathetic and sympathetic state of nervous system. So if we're parasympathetic is the rest and digest. That's the one where we're
relax,
yes,
chill, enjoy the meal.
We're actually absorbing nutrients. Whereas if we're stressed, if we're scared, if we're in a hurry, we're in a fight or flight state. And the body, you may have the best, most nutritious food, but the body will not absorb the nutrients as well as it should. So
yeah, it's prioritizing the stressed out state that it's in and how to get out of it. And most people are living in that state, which once again, like this reflects back on why we start with ourselves and then go to our mind. And for me, like what I try to share first and foremost is like I become a mirror. As a coach, I become a mirror for what people say, and starting to understand what's going on in their head as well. So then I mirror back, and then they have more self-awareness. And then from that self-awareness, it's like, oh my gosh, I never knew. And then, all right, then now what do we do? So, and I think what we were talking about before is like this, even using the word selfish, there's a negative connotation to the word selfish. And so the second question that I had that I wanted to bring up is, why don't people do this naturally? Why don't people take care of themselves just naturally? Why isn't it the first thing that we think of when we're aware that something's not quite right with ourselves? What's your thought on that?
Well, I think my thoughts are based on my personal experience. That's the conditioning that you receive from the earliest age, you know, and you can argue it's different in different cultures and applicably to different genders, but overall, a lot of people in this world are raised with the conditioning of it's not okay to take care of yourself. You should like prioritize your sister, brother, parents, neighbors. You know, you should be selfless. You should be, children are being praised for doing the acts of kindness and rarely praised for taking care of themselves in a loving, compassionate.
Selfish.
Selfish, yeah. Don't be selfish. That's
be selfish. Help others. This is, I think, this is once again, it's this distraction that we're taught that it's all outside of ourselves, right? Like you need to, if something's going on, if something's not right, you need to fix it out here and not be more aware of what's going on in here. And like you said, the social conditioning, it's the conditioning of what we're told to think and to feel and do and be and all these kind of things from many different levels and different cultures. And this is part of the human experience. I think part of our growth is like what we're born into and then what we do with what we're given and how we can grow within that, right? Within the time that we are here, what do we do with that? And there's a lot of spiritual conversations about soul contracts, that we make an agreement before we come into this life. If you believe in multiple lives, that I'm going to live this life, these are going to be my parents, or this is soul team. And so you have all these people, and maybe Mariya and I met there and say, we're going to meet this one day in Geneva. And then from there, like these kind of like conversations as well, that people can think about things in a whole different way, but still go into their mind and not just be distracted by everything out here, everything that's not themselves. Like, I can fix this, or I can organize this, and like everything's okay. I'll just massage this a little. Oh yeah, that's better. And then things keep cycling back. And the more awareness that we can give to our mind, then that's the gift. Like that's creating that space. And sometimes that's the most difficult thing, is that we're so conditioned and scheduled to give out here that we're not, where are we fitting within that to just be with ourselves in a loving, self-compassionate, suffer with, grieve with, cry with, laugh with. We don't give ourselves that. We haven't been taught, really.
I almost feel bad about it. Like
it makes me sad. Yeah.
Large part of my practice also almost like given permission to people to take care of themselves. It's almost like often people won't take care of themselves, and so there's like a doctor's order, or like as a health coach, I tell them, okay, you need to sleep well, you need to sleep, you need to prioritize. So people feel the need to receive someone's external permission to start taking care of themselves.
And a lot of it is not being judged by taking care of themselves, because this is the social conditioning. We're told not to, and we experience life in a certain way of what it means to be selfish and how people will treat you when you're selfish.
Yeah.
And then this is these self-sacrifices, and deep down we're feeling that we're carrying the hurt, because we're not going within ourselves to be like, this is what I think I want to do. This is how I want to feel. This is what I'm feeling, like all these kind of things, like being true to ourselves. To thine own self be true. To know ourself is the greatest gift. But once again, I think this is part of like this earth experience, that we have to be able to go up against this resistance, this pressure to be able to grow. If we didn't have it, it'd be too, like we wouldn't, it's like, oh, this is easy. there's no friction for growth, right?
Nobody
So,
wants
but
to say
having that awareness that
anything.
this is like, these are the experiences, like this is normal. You're not being targeted. Life doesn't only happen to you. Like you're not alone in what you're experiencing. This is human. This is part of it as well, is like people shouldn't feel bad about helping and loving and connecting with themselves and creating the space for that. What I've grown into in my coaching is I'll give people the space to communicate that, to share. They give themselves, I receive them giving themselves the permission.
It's beautiful.
That they'll just speak it out. What they feel that they can do for themselves to start with. And then I just feel like, yeah, all right. And hold them accountable to that, right? As well, that they've said that, but maybe it changes, that it's all right. You're doing great because you're doing it. You're thinking about you, and just having that on the other end. And this is what you've said to me as well about sharing with you, like to have people that we can just be authentic with as we're experiencing what that means. What does it mean to be our true selves, or to take care of ourselves, not be selfish, these kind of things.
Yes, totally. And it's a beautiful thing to watch people connect
Oh
with
my
them.
gosh. Yeah. It's like a flower.
Yeah.
This is like the language of light. You see people shine, open up more. It's like release this pain of stuff they've been holding on to for not taking care of themselves. Like when they're aware of that, when you're aware that you haven't been taking care of yourselves maybe as much as you wanted to, it's sad. And it's nice to have someone there to be like, it's okay. It's important that you express that you don't hold on to that, and that you say self-compassion, and we can get into this as well next. I love the root of compassion, to suffer with, to go with yourself and be there in your moment of like, I didn't take care of you, but I'm here now. And here we go. What are you feeling? Talking to parts of your body, or once again in your mind, right? You're going through this, and then being in that space, and it's a beautiful space to be able to be with yourself at moments when you weren't, right? Like if the past is haunting you and we have all these feelings based on that we can go to these moments within our mind and be like, it's okay. I love you. I feel it. Yeah, it's sad. Cry it out like you're hugging someone else, like someone else is coming and wants your compassion, wants you to feel that with them. So can you share more about the importance of self-compassion, and maybe some personal stories if you want as well, like how that's been important for you, forgiveness, gratitude, and then how that's rippled out into some of your coaching?
Yeah, well, self-compassion is something that I had to learn as part of the whole reparenting process. And
Reparenting, yeah. It's a good way of saying it. It is true, yeah.
Self-compassion and lack of self-judgment, letting go of self-judgment was a very important part, because in my younger years I used to be much more self-critical. I was actually my own worst critic. And
You're a lawyer, girlfriend. You're your own lawyer, right?
yes, I was a lawyer, but also before that I had been a straight A student. I was also, when I was in Texas, I was, after the first semester in NHS, National Honor Society, I was like,
Me
Ryan,
too. Yeah.
we're like, it is a lot of do, keep going, push higher.
Perform, be better, be number one. Yeah.
Yes, so I guess
Competitive. Yeah.
I had almost a sense of shame when my performance in any area of life was less than perfect. And I was shame myself for it. I would feel guilt. And so the journey to self-compassion, self-love, self-acceptance, it was a long journey, and I'm still on it. I mean,
Yeah. But like we said, like this is part of this growth. Like we're gonna see different parts of ourselves maybe that we need to just face and be compassionate with, so we can. Woo.
It's also a lot about motivations because, you know, I grew up seeing the examples of female caregiver who was so selfless. She was really like a martyr, she would be sick and whatever and taking care of everybody. And then, you know, when she was in her last minutes, she told me that, you know, she didn't do it well, you know, that she should have loved herself more, and she told me to love myself.
Wow.
Yeah, so I heard it, and it's
Yeah.
very powerful. But to really internalize it, it took me many years. It took me 9 years to actually get there, because in actual daily situations, I still relied on what I had seen her do while she was alive. So my greatest motivation, and I've also written a post about it some time ago on my Instagram, that my greatest motivation to love myself, to treat myself kindly, to install my ironclad boundaries, which I do have,
Ironclad.
to set a good example for my kids. Because I always think, if my kids see me not being kind to myself, if they see me like, you know, not taking rest, that's what they will remember, and that's what they will do to themselves. And God forbid, I don't want my kids to do that. So that's actually, that is a bit of a trick loophole I found for myself, because it's very difficult to deal with this whole concept of you're selfish, you know. And also you get a lot of pushback from people in your life. Like I got a lot of criticism from my nearest and dearest when I tried to actually make improvements in that area, because a lot of people actually like it this way.
Yeah, exactly. For them, it could be great. They like this version of you.
Yeah.
But for you, there is this, yeah, this expansion and helping others. For me, it's well, and that's part of why I got pulled out of myself. Like I was trying to help other people so much, and maybe put on the mask to be that guy for that person, or be here for there or there, that I wasn't doing that for myself enough. And it's beautiful that you say that being that example for the boys, your children, has helped you. It's that reminder, it's that what's clicking in here to keep you on that path of self-care, so you can be that great leader, that example for them.
It's finding your why. I think as soon as a person finds their why, and the stronger that why is, we are invincible as people. We people, all of us, everywhere, we're invincible if we just find our why.
Yeah, to me that's the spiritual connection. When I was losing that, even like for me, when I went into the mind space, it was still just about me. Like I wasn't connecting to this like greater flow of everything as deep, like that level of why. And as I've strengthened that, it ripples out into everything else. Like for me, it's about the greatest good. Like really put myself, but there's still all the other conditioning and the voices that I'm growing and moving and shaking off. But to me, these are my daily reminders for that. So I can be more trusting here. Even before we started this, like this is this level of growth and evolution for myself, is to be here with you and episode 1, and then imagine it getting better and better and better, like the growth of this. So gratitude once again for that. So what is action steps for people listening to this, like at this point, who wanna, we've talked about starting with self, talked about self-compassion, talked about the mind being important for people to go in there for the self-awareness and awareness to be able to have the self-compassion, all this other more holistically healthy conversations in our mind. What would be something that you'd want to share with people that they could take away from our conversation today at this point? because it is deep, it is big, it's such a big topic, and we're trying to sum it into this. All right, holistic health, you want to improve, start with yourself, go to your mind, and then what else would you share, or what are you sharing with your clients now, and what do you feel will resonate out, ripple out to those listening and watching?
Well, I try to sort of share the message depending on each person's level of depth in this matter, because most people like myself come into holistic health because something is aching. Most people would rather not spend, most people would rather like eat anything, not exercise, and not think about these things. So if a person is purely in this, in the body and focused on healing the body, I would at least share the message of managing one's stress. And that also includes setting boundaries and being kind to oneself as part of stress management. So that is my like surface level thing. Like, okay, you want healthy digestion, you want good immune system functioning, which is also like in your guts. Lower your stress, manage your stress. I also empower people with like simple tools to use, like breathwork, like box breathing, some pranayamas, something quick and actionable. Definitely like yogic breathing, all that helps. And if we go deeper, if a person, a client is already more aware of the connections, I would also say yes, add self-compassion. Don't beat yourself too hard. And if I give you a plan, if you know why do health coaches exist to begin with? We all know exactly what we need to do. If it's something serious, we go to a doctor, we get medical prescription and action plan. Otherwise, we all have Google. So the information is widely available. The one reason we still struggle with, or most people struggle with, is implementation stage. And that is the role of a health coach here is, aside from like sciencey stuff and maybe being a bridge between the doctor and the patient and helping, it's also about holding space for oneself and being like, okay, I'm going to reduce my sugar intake, but I'm going to take 3 weeks doing it. I'm going to be compassionate. And if on day 3 I eat a huge piece of cake, okay, I'm not going to beat myself up for it too hard. I'll take my day 4 as another shot at something better. So that would be like 2 basic levels. And then I think, well, I hope we can do it more often, more regularly, and go deeper, because I think you and I both have so much more to share on deeper.
Yeah, there's so much. Yeah, exactly. So it's like on the self-compassion, personally, how do you put it into your day? Like, are you just throughout the day, you're catching yourself, you're being aware of when you're not being compassionate, and then another voice comes in and is getting different language, so like a reprogramming of language? Or do you have a meditation time? Like, how are you practicing self-compassion?
I think the most important thing was for me to accept how I am, and then actually to honor that by scheduling things. So for me, it's a lot about the practice, is a lot about how I schedule my day. I'm very sensitive when it comes to sensory overload, for example. This is just one example. So if I'm home all day and I'm doing maybe some online coaching, or I'm also a photographer, so I'll do some editing, that's almost meditative. But if I'm out and about, if I'm talking to people, if I'm networking, I come home, I'm done and drained. Even going to a mall is draining for me. So
But energetically, like you speak about energetics, and that you can pick up energy from other people as well. Like, you're immersing yourself into that, and it's
so big part of like my self-compassion is, if I know I have a 1.5 hour networking event, I will schedule at least 40 minutes afterwards when I get home to like put my head cocoon in my little cocoon, maybe edit some pictures, or maybe just read a book, listen to music, rebalance, or do a meditation or breath work, something. Whereas in the past, it would be like, no, okay, after this event, I can do that event, or I can do this. No,
Yeah.
so
Like you don't give yourself the time to integrate, be with yourself, process, be aware of yourself after those interactions. Yeah.
and that came as a result of accepting that I have this peculiarity, you know. It may be a weakness or peculiarity that.
You're so peculiar. We're peculiar. But I think it's just a unique aspect. But it's important, I think, all of us to recognize that, like to have the self-awareness to give ourselves space so we can be able to go here and do what we need to for ourselves. And this is what I find as well. It's just helping people initially create space to take care of themselves. And then, well, what do you want to do in this take care of yourself time? Okay, I need some of the self-compassion. And then what does that look like? And like trying to give people the structure in their daily architecture, right? In their day to be able to like this time for me, because 10 minutes could be like an hour. Like what's like how much, if you're really immersed in a 10-minute time period, it can give you so much relaxation, can give you so much back, right? So I think it's the beauty of that is just start with creating space for yourself, and then where is that at? What does it look like? And then what are you doing? Breath work for me is one of the things that I share first with people to help just move, and then they can start visualizing with the breathing as well, just clearing energy, clearing thoughts that don't feel great, emotions that are just flowing through, right? Like these kind of things, and not really label things good or bad, but breathe in everything that they want to feel, to think, to experience, and then breathe out what they want to clear. And that's my experience. This is where I start with people, and where it's a good, it's not super deep. Sometimes too deep too fast, you can recoil back. It's almost like, whoa, it's too much. But a good soft start is like creating space for yourself, and then within that space, just getting people to breathe, in my experience, has been a great gift. Like it's been the most feedback that I've gotten from what I've shared out, is that, and specifically box breathing, which is breathe in, hold your breath in, breathe out, hold your breath out, and then just repeat for people. So thank you for sharing everything today. But I wanted to add that in, like connect it to what I've experienced that helps people the most when they want to start this journey as well. So starting with self, going to the mind, giving themselves the structure and the space to be like, this is Ryan time, this is Mariya time, this is your time, right? And then what are you doing within that? And connecting with a coach, like you said. To me, I love the meaning, like the historic use of coach is a carriage that's pulled by something, that's taking someone that's been driven by someone else, or it's supporting people on their journey. So like a stage coach, a coach I like that. Like a coach is someone that's with you on your journey, that's there supporting you, that's hopefully not judging you, that's there to make sure that you are taking care of yourself and mirroring that. So Mariya, I think we'll close it with this. Like there's lots more that we can dive into, and Mariya and I spoke before about like, well, how do we framework this? So as a collaborator, I want to invite Mariya back more often as well, to go deeper within all these topics, and, get her perspective, her experience, even in between space, right? What she's experiencing and what she will bring to like every conversation, authentic conversation. And within that as well, I also want to invite other people onto this, podcast, YouTube series, whatever we want to call this, but this conversation, these authentic conversations, to share their journeys as well. But to welcome Mariya back as a collaborator to continue to dive deep, because it helps us dive deeper in our own relationship as well. Like we get to connect more and collaborate and create together and resonate on this deeper level. So that's a good closing. Thank you again, Mariya, for being here, for sharing. And thank you everyone for watching, whoever's watching out there, episode 1. We're excited to see the growth of this and episode 2 to 2000 and beyond.